Do you tend to slurp or sip your coffee? I tend to be a slurper. Hello! Welcome to the vlog today. Pretty good vlog today, I'd say. We are going to be, and by we I mean just me, but you and me, but I'm just gonna be the one sending words your way. And these words are gonna be all about the biggest things we've learned after we traveled for almost 4 years, full-time in a travel trailer, nomadically, across the country. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, or whatever you drink, and slurp it up with me. So prior to us going on our trip in the travel trailer and full-time travel, we lived in suburbia in San Diego. Before that, we lived in suburbia in Sacramento. And before that, we lived in suburbia outside of Sacramento. Pretty much lived in suburbia most of our lives, except for our entire childhoods, where my wife and I lived up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, which is where we live now. So our perspective comes from a suburban perspective, hence the name of the channel, Suburban Pilgrims, because then we went on this pilgrimage. It was a pilgrimage to us. I have actually 6 things that we learned while on the road that I think are really, literally changed our life. If you're thinking of doing the same kind of thing as we did, your life change, I guarantee you your life will be changed somehow. May not be in these ways, but do you hear those leaves? Oh, that's so cool. Alright, so the first thing is that it has, ever since then, it has caused us to pull back from what we offer to other people. And what I mean by that is, before we went on the trip, we were really good at saying yes to things. And so that meant that our lives were pretty filled with like social obligations and things for the kids and appointments, and there were just things that you did with your kids, sports and that kind of thing, that if you didn't do, you felt like you had to defend like your reason why you didn't do it. So it was easier just to do it. Like our son was in soccer, our daughter was in dance, and all of our kids were in like this drama thing. Just lots of things that our days were filled with, and it caused us to be pretty dang busy. Being in the trailer, we were ripped from all of that stuff, which was great, which is part of the reason we did it. It made us unplug from all of the different commitments and things that we had going on in our life. We left it all behind and we were completely free. It was kind of like, I use this analogy all the time, but it was kind of like if you're gonna clean out your garage and your garage is just full of stuff, the best way to clean it out is to take all the stuff out of your garage, put it out in your yard, and then figure out what is gonna go back in the garage. And that's kind of what we did with our whole life, is we got rid of all of our commitments, all of those things, and then got to figure out what things actually matter to us. What things do we want to put back in our life? And so now, since we've come off of the road and into a house, we've retained that. So we're very intentional and very cautious of committing to things, which makes us kind of non-committal people, but I'm fine with that. If you make a commitment, you should stick with it. It doesn't mean you have to constantly commit yourself to things. We only commit ourselves to things that really bring value to us and to our life and to the things that we value at our core. There's probably negatives to that, but that's definitely something that's changed. Here's what I'm gonna do, just for your entertainment, is, so we just did number 1. We're on number 2, point number 2. I'm gonna spin in my chair twice. 1, 2, oh gosh, that really makes me dizzy. I'm gonna do it though. I'm gonna do it because by the time we get to number 6, I'll probably throw up. So you can look forward to that. So the second thing it has done for us, changed for us, is it's made us realize that the dreams, goals, convictions, things that you have in your head that you'd love to do, they're much more, probably, much more attainable than we ever realized. I read a book, many of you have probably read this book, it's called 4 Hour Workweek by some guy, can't remember his name. And that book really impacted me. It was sort of the first moment that I realized, I think maybe we could do some of these things that we'd actually like to do. It has this exercise in the book that I think is good for everybody to do. So if you haven't read it, I'll tell you what this exercise is. You get a piece of paper and you write down the 5 things that you would love to do if money and time had no factor on your life. What would you learn? Where would you go? What would you do with your time? Like, what would an average day, week, month, year look like if time and money weren't a factor. When I got to those real things, like past the Ferraris and stuff, it came down to things that surprisingly were more attainable than I'd realized. So I looked at those things that really I thought would bring the most value, the things that I'd realistically probably do if I had time and money. They didn't cost that much. So I looked at it that way. I was kind of surprised at how attainable these things were. And what that slowly did for me in my brain is shift my brain from thinking that these things are impossible, I'd love to do them but I can't, to maybe I can. And that was a bigger shift than I could have ever known or realized, because it seems like such a small thing, but going from no to yes in my own brain made all the difference in the world. As soon as we stopped saying no and turned that into a yes, how, it changed everything. And then, I mean, I made a film. It's amazing. Like, it's crazy to me that I was able to do that. I mean, it was a big deal. It's kind of a lifelong dream to actually have a film made and to travel the country full-time for almost 4 years. It's crazy. So anyways, now we're trying to apply that same principle just to bigger things that seem more crazy, like, well, yeah, but we can't do this. And we're like, we can. Let's just figure out how. What would it take? Anyways, that was a big one for us. Number 3, I'm going to spin 3 times. This just still makes me so dizzy. Oh, I'm not... That is not... Ugh. I think you're probably thinking, this is stupid, why is he spinning his chair? But in my mind, right now, as I'm recording this video and talking to this camera, I think, this is brilliant, this is such a good idea. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is natural possessions don't matter. More things, both stuff and commitments, robs your freedom. We only buy things we really value. Okay, that was a pretty basic, simple one. I remember at the time of leaving for a trip, my wife and I had been married for 12 years. So we had 12 years of accumulation of stuff. And my wife and I like nice things. Try to buy the nicest thing that we can afford at the time. We'd rather spend more money on something that's gonna last than not. When we sold everything, like, none of our stuff was crazy nice, but to us it was like, it had some value. This was good stuff. When we bought this was rather expensive. When we went to get rid of the stuff through garage sales and Craigslist and giving stuff away, we could not believe how little value that stuff actually had. Something that we paid $500 for, somebody was like, oh, I'll give you $5, maybe. We learned that lesson really quick, is that the stuff that you have in your house that you hold so near and dear, that you think it has a lot of value, it doesn't actually have any, at least financial value to anybody else. So if you're thinking like, well, we can't give that away, that cost us this much, it's like, just get rid of it. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It only has value to you. It made us look at things and stuff differently. We still value quality a lot. The experience of using it is usually better, but we don't hold on to things at all like we used to. We don't really care about the things. We still really value being minimal, both in our stuff and in, like I talked about before, our commitments and things and time. Being very minimal with how we, you know, dilly out our time. Dilly out? Dilly. Is dilly a word? It should be. If it's not, that's a great word. Dilly out your time. Dilly out the money. Dilly out the candy. Dilly out the sandwiches. Dilly out the gas. You can use it for anything. It doesn't even have to make sense. I'm gonna start using that. We're only gonna buy things that really bring us value, that we really care about, that we're really going to like use and need and feel like it's gonna bring value to us. And even then, even when we have it, we're not like so attached to it. We're kind of like, if it burned up tomorrow, whatever. Like, it's just not, the things of life don't bring us as much value as it used to. I don't think there's anything wrong with having things at all. Like, we're not minimal to the point of like, you have to get rid of everything except for that one shirt that you're gonna wear every day. I do only have a few flannels I wear all the time, but fix that. For us, the threshold of how much value those stuff and things brings has to be pretty high before we actually go out and get it. Four spins. 1, 2, God, 3. Oh my gosh, that legitimately makes me dizzy. Such a stupid thing to do. Like, it just doesn't... Okay, number 4 thing is exactly what I talked about pretty much in all of these, and that is our time. So we're super, super intentional with what we do with our time, where we put it, what we give it to. Because my wife and I know what we value the most in this world, it's much easier to only do the things with our time that bring us closer to the things that matter most. You know, if this is what matters most to us, is this circle I'm making with my hands, for whatever reason, I'm like, this is what I love, you little circle. Well, I don't know what these are, let's do it like this. More of a triangle now. Let's say that I value this triangle the most. Anything that falls over here or here, it's like we'll think about, because it's kind of close to our triangle. If it's way out here though, it's an instant like no. So if it's things inside our little triangle, then it's a no-brainer. It's like, yes, of course we'll go after that. Even if some of those things inside the triangle seem like that's kind of a waste. That doesn't, like I would say YouTube is one of those things, honestly. It's inside that triangle for me. It's a direct vehicle for me to get closer within that triangle, if you will. Are you keeping up with this at all? Is this a stupid analogy? But it's something I wouldn't have done before because we didn't really know what we valued the most. I'm all over with this one. Living in the trailer caused us to realize what matters most to us in the world, so then we can figure out what things do we want to spend our time doing that fit within the what matters most. Forget it. That one was a little squishy. One, two, three. Oh gosh. Feels like a bad ride I can't get off of. I really hate that. That's crazy how, I mean, 5 spins in the chairs and I get that dizzy. Ugh. Number 5, this is one specifically my wife brought up, and that is how much more open we are with our kids now. Because in the trailer, you can't really hide anything. You're in such a small, confined space that doesn't really have rooms, and if you are in a different room, the walls are, you know, walls are about probably as thick as like this, but maybe 2 of those put together. If you have an argument with your wife, if you're talking about sensitive things like money or whatever, you really can't hide it from your kids. I mean, you can if you really want to, but there comes a point when you just don't. You're like, it's just easier to be very open with our kids, at least it was for us. So I think there's some things that your kids don't need to know about. It doesn't benefit them. And there's some things that could actually probably hinder them a little bit, so you obviously have to be careful, but we're definitely much more open with our kids about things than we were before the trailer, when it was just easier to go into a room and lock yourself off. And I should point that out. Just because these are things we've learned from the trailer doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that we're doing parenting or life better than we were even before. I don't know. We feel like we are for us, but that doesn't mean it applies to anybody else. So please don't hear me. Please, please, please don't hear me. I'm not making this like, I'm not saying this in a way that's like, our way's better, you should learn from us. It's not that at all. It's just, I know for people who are looking to go into the trailer life, they're looking to get something out of it. So we're just sharing what we got out of it. Okay, so just chill out. I'm not saying we're better than you. Gosh, we probably are though. This coffee's cold now, I bet. It's like lukewarm. Which way do I want to go? This way. 1 feels okay. Very dizzy now. This is horrible. Oh gosh. 4. Oh gosh. That is so bad. Oh gosh, that really made me feel sick. I feel nauseous. I have to take this off. I gotta turn my fan on. Such a stupid thing to do. Ugh. You know what I had this morning? Bacon. Lots of bacon. Because we're on keto. So we eat a lot of bacon in the morning. You eat that fat. Ugh. Ugh, I really don't feel good. I'm just gonna do the last one like this. I don't feel good. It kind of piggybacks off the last one, number 5, being open with your kids. We have become more open with our kids, like verbally, just telling them things, but we've also been more open with like our failures and things that we've gone after. I'm less afraid of going after dreams that I think I could fail at than I was before. I think it's good for your kids to see you going after things that matter to you, things that are risky, things that you might fail at, probably will fail at. It's good for your kids to see you fail and how you deal with that. How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with difficulty? How do you overcome those things? If you're trying to build a life that intentionally avoids difficult situations and things that you're gonna fail at and problems and issues, like they're gonna come either way. Life is just filled with those things. But I think before, when we lived in suburbia, we were trying very hard to build a life that was protected from all of those things because we didn't want to deal with it. But now we try to intentionally put ourselves in situations that are difficult, that are going to stretch us, that are going to make us wiggle a little bit and maybe not cause us like stress. Stress is not the right idea, but you know, just things that challenges. We want to put challenges in front of us so our kids can see us go after those things. Because we want our kids to go after things that seem more difficult than what they can accomplish on their own. Just see how far you can take things, go after it, risk something. But if we don't do that ourselves, we can't expect our kids to do it. But we want our kids to do that, so we do that ourselves now a lot more than we used to. We're less safe, it's one of the things that we do even with our money, which is probably stupid. You guys will look at this and be like, well, you guys are stupid then. You're irresponsible. A lot of people are really good at saving, and like, we save money, we try to be responsible with our money, but if we have an opportunity to go do something really fun, if it's gonna give us an amazing experience to go out and do this, but it means that now we don't have this money saved up, we just don't care. Because we're like, we'd rather have that experience because we could all die tomorrow. And then what do you have? You have money sitting in the bank that you're not going to use. I don't know. Like, I understand that there's responsibilities, there's planning for the future and stuff like that, but we're just like, we don't like to live so much for the future because we're not guaranteed a future. Future might come, but it might not. We're much more into living, I guess this is so cliche to say, but it's true. We are much better at living for today. Like, I get it. I'm not offering financial advice or anything. I'm just saying in general, that's one example of how we do things that other people I think look at like, that's kind of stupid. Why do you guys do that? And it's because we are willing to risk things more. We just don't hold on to things as tightly. We're just like, whatever, let's just go do it. There could be negative consequences. There could be negative consequences, but that could work both ways. Because saving the money and having it go away, which happened to a lot of people when the economy crashed, or a loved one sadly getting sick, or some kind of life-altering, life is very fragile, and we have today, we have right now. This is all we have right now. So we're not very big at like planning too far into the future or too big for the future, because we're like, we don't have the future. Today I don't have the future. I don't have tomorrow today. I have today. So let's make today great. Anyways, that's it. That's what we've learned from living in the trailer. There's a lot more. I could keep going forever, but those are the bulk things, the main things. Time and how we use our time. That's the biggest thing. How we use our time and how we use the resources that allow us to spend the time doing things that we care about.